The Vral'keth invasion fleet emerged from jump space in a flash of ghostly white energy, armored hulls reflecting the cold blue of Earth's atmosphere far below. Vast triangular warships formed geometric patterns across the void, precise and disciplined, an empire sculpted into steel. Inside the flagship Vengeance of Dawn, panic began the moment the navigation officer compared the planet on the display with the intended target. "High Marshal, there is a problem." His voice trembled as he expanded the holographic projection. "This world is not Karos 4. High Marshal Vral'keth didn't lift his gaze. "Our intelligence is ancient. Minor discrepancies are expected." "This is not a discrepancy," the officer insisted. "This world shows active orbital structures. Defensive arrays. Heat signatures consistent with nuclear-powered stations. And," he swallowed, "millions of artificial lights on the night side." That got Vral'keth's attention. His mandibles shifted as he leaned forward. The hologram sharpened, cities glowing like constellations, satellites in ordered orbits, military assets waiting like silent predators. "Explain," the marshal growled. "It's inhabited," the officer whispered. "And not by a primitive species." A long silence followed. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. No empire in the collective's long history had accidentally invaded a developed world. Vral'keth refused to yield to panic. "Then we correct the error," he declared. "We eliminate resistance before it escalates. Prepare a probing strike." "But, sir—" "Do it." The officer obeyed. Moments later, the Vral'keth fleet fired. Lances of coherent plasma streaked toward Earth's upper atmosphere, fast, bright, and lethal. And humanity noticed instantly. In the Aegis Mantle Defense Complex buried under Mount Norin, Captain Elias Kane studied the orbital feed as red alerts cascaded across his console. His dark hair was tied back in a tight knot, jaw tense, eyes locked on the incoming signatures. "Those aren't meteors," his second-in-command, Lieutenant Mara Halden, muttered. "They're firing from orbit." "No doubt," Elias replied. "Open Global Channel 7. Activate full mantle response." She complied, fingers flying. Earth's defense grid came alive. Kinetic interceptors launched in precise arcs. Rail platforms rotated toward the threat. AI-guided sensors synchronized across continents. A storm of motion erupted around the planet. "Contact in 30 seconds, Mara reported. Elias leaned over the table. "Bring up the source of the attack." A colossal warship appeared on the display, alien architecture unmistakable. Lines of luminous glyphs crawled along its hull like living runes. "Well," Elias said calmly, "someone finally decided to say hello." The first plasma bolts descended, bright streaks tearing through the upper atmosphere. But the grid responded with mechanical precision. Interceptor rounds slammed into the plasma trails, detonating them before they breached civilian airspace. The sky burned gold and white, but not a single bolt reached the ground. Elias exhaled. "They test us. Good. Let's introduce ourselves." He keyed the command panel. "Execute Operation Gravel." Mara blinked. "Using debris? On the first strike?" "They fired first. We answer." In orbit, dormant stations triggered explosive bolts, releasing clouds of hardened fragments, old satellites, repurposed hull scraps, compact metal spheres, each accelerated by magnetic rails. Thousands of tiny projectiles surged toward the alien flotilla at hypervelocity. Aboard Vengeance of Dawn, the bridge erupted in disbelief. "Impact on sectors 5 through 8, a tactical officer cried. "Shields collapsing. How did they generate so many simultaneous vectors?" Vral'keth stared as the hologram filled with expanding fields of debris. "What is that?" "Unidentified kinetic masses, sir. They're using their own orbital junk against us." "Impossible," Vral'keth snapped. "That is barbaric. No species weaponizes trash." "They do, sir." The flagship shuddered as multiple impacts rippled across its shields. The lower cruisers were hit harder, two lost formation entirely, spiraling as their engines flickered out. Vral'keth felt humiliation claw at his pride. This species defies sense. A junior officer turned. Sir, our data indicates the world is designated Earth. Local name, humanity. Our intelligence records classify them as pre-space flight. Then our intelligence is wrong. Vral'keth snarled. Restore order. Prepare a full assault. Fear lingered across the bridge, but the crew obeyed. Earth's defense grid hummed with energy. Enemy formation disrupted, Mara reported. They didn't expect the kinetic burst. Good, Elias said. But they'll recover quickly. They're organized. A global comm request blinked. Elias tapped it. Dozens of military leaders appeared, generals, admirals, defense ministers. What are we dealing with, Captain Kane? One demanded. A coordinated alien fleet, Elias answered. Multiple cruisers, one flagship, and a full battle escort. They're trained. They're armed. And they aimed at us deliberately. Any demands? None yet. Then we must respond in kind, another voice said. Elias nodded. Aegis Mantle will lead orbital defense. Nations are cleared to mobilize air and ground forces, but control stays centralized. We can't afford fragmented command. They agreed without argument. The invasion unified the world more quickly than any treaty. As the call ended, Elias turned back to the tactical screen. Track their next move. The aliens began repositioning, lines of ships forming a more aggressive posture. They're preparing for round 2, Mara said. Elias rolled his shoulders. Then we hit them harder. On the alien flagship, the mood darkened. High Marshal, our lower cruisers request permission to fall back for repairs, an officer said. There will be no retreat, Vral'keth growled. If we withdraw now, the High Council will demand explanation. I will not face that disgrace. Then what is your command? We crush these humans quickly. Their defense grid is formidable but improvised. Break through with full plasma storms. The officer hesitated. Sir, if they can weaponize simple debris. We are the Vral'keth Collective, Vral'keth hissed. We do not bow to savages. Orders relayed. Engines roared. Plasma batteries charged. Vral'keth stared at Earth, feeling something he hadn't in decades, uncertainty. Back at Aegis Mantle, the next wave appeared on sensors. Massive energy build-up, Mara said. Plasma barrage incoming. Elias studied the data. Their strategy was clear: overwhelm human interceptors before they could adapt. Coordinate shield projectors, Elias ordered. Stack our intercept timing. And bring rail platforms 2 through 6 online. Mara eyed him. All at once? If they want escalation, he said, we give it. The grid powered up with a deep mechanical roar. Blue arcs rippled across the orbital stations as the rail platforms aligned for synchronized fire. The alien barrage fired moments later, brilliant streams of burning plasma plunging toward Earth. Fire! Elias commanded. Rail platforms unleashed a blinding volley of tungsten slugs. They tore through the alien barrage, scattering it in incandescent bursts of vapor. The sky lit like a storm of shattered stars. Direct hits on multiple enemy vessels, Mara announced. They're staggering. Elias allowed a small, grim smile. Good. Maybe now they'll talk. But as he studied the alien formation, he saw something else, an expanding sphere of light from the flagship's forward arc. They weren't preparing to talk. They were preparing to double down. Get ready, Elias said quietly. They're not done. On Vengeance of Dawn, Vral'keth watched the humans defy his second assault. His mandibles twitched with rage. Prepare full invasion protocol, he said coldly. We take this world by force. An officer hesitated. Sir, are we certain this species is worth provoking? Vral'keth's eyes narrowed. They already drew blood, he said. Now they will drown. Outside, his fleet advanced. Inside Aegis Mantle, Elias stood straighter. All right, he muttered. Round 3. The war for Earth had truly begun. The Vral'keth fleet reorganized with mechanical precision, wounded cruisers locking into new formations while fresh warships moved ahead to mask their damage. Their engines traced blue scars across the dark, each line a declaration of stubborn determination. Inside Earth's defense complex, Elias Kane studied the changing patterns. His team worked in focused silence, eyes flicking between tactical projections and sensor feeds. "They're repositioning for a sustained assault," Mara Halden said. She highlighted several vectors converging on the northern hemisphere. "Their formations suggest planned saturation fire." Elias zoomed in on the escort ships. "They're correcting for our intercept patterns. They learn quickly. Enough to overwhelm us? Only if we stay predictable," he replied. "And we won't." He opened a line to Global Command. "All mental stations, initiate adaptive net protocol. Our intercept sequences will randomize every 5 seconds." "Confirmed." Dozens of voices responded. "Let's see how they handle chaos," Elias muttered. On the Vral'keth flagship, Vral'keth watched Earth's defenses realign with irritation tightening his jaw. "What are they doing now?" The tactical officer analyzed the rapid changes. "Their response patterns are shifting irregularly. No stable rhythm." "Is it deliberate?" "Yes, High Marshal," Vral'keth paced. The notion that a young species could adapt mid-battle offended him. "Then we break their grid with brute force." "Sir, our cruisers are struggling to maintain shield integrity." Vral'keth turned sharply. "Are we a fleet of cowards?" "No, High Marshal," the officer said quickly. "Then prepare full strike sequence. Overload the forward batteries." The officer hesitated, then obeyed. A low hum filled the flagship as weapon cores powered up. Vral'keth stared down at Earth. "This world defies us." "Fine. Let them burn." Inside Aegis Mantle, the energy spike appeared instantly. "Massive buildup from the flagship," Mara warned. "Too large for preliminary fire." Elias leaned over the tactical display. "Estimate their volley." "Likely a full-force plasma storm." "That'll test the grid," Elias said. "Or overload it." He studied the alternative, letting the barrage pass and relying on atmospheric dissipation. Too risky? The plasma would punch through before losing strength. "We intercept," Elias decided. "Initiate arch shield formation." Mara shot him a look. "That maneuver hasn't been tested under real combat." "We test it now." The orbital stations moved into position, generating linked magnetic fields that curved around Earth like a shimmering arc. It wasn't a solid defense, but it was flexible enough to absorb some of the incoming fire. "Ready," Mara said. "Brace for impact." The Vral'keth barrage arrived moments later, an immense cascade of plasma streams cutting across the sky. The arch shield caught the first wave, dissipating the energy in violent bursts of light. The second wave slipped through gaps, slamming into Earth's upper atmosphere with concussive roars. Interceptors tried to catch the remaining bolts, detonating them before they reached civilian airspace. Earth shook, but it held. Mara exhaled shakily. "That was close." "Too close," Elias said. "Now we respond." He tapped the console. "Bring online hammerfall batteries." Her eyes widened. "We've never fired them at full capacity. We don't have the luxury of half measures." Across Earth's orbit, enormous rail cannons powered up, the sky brightening as coils drew immense electrical charge. "Target their wounded cruisers first," Elias ordered. "We clear the board." "Hammerfall ready." "Fire." The blast traveled like a lance of pure force, striking a damaged Vral'keth cruiser. The ship's shield folded instantly. The hull ruptured, scattering debris in a magnificent bloom of fire and metal. A second shot crippled another vessel, spinning it out of formation. Within the Vral'keth fleet, panic sparked across the bridge crews. On Vengeance of Dawn, alarms shrieked. "High Marshal! The humans destroyed 2 cruisers in seconds!" Vral'keth slammed his fist against the armrest. "How?" "Unidentified rail structures." Their power signatures exceed known human capability. Impossible, Vral'keth hissed. Evidence disagreed. Another cruiser was hit by a secondary blast, shields collapsing. Officers scrambled to compensate, but the humans' long-range precision gunnery shredded their formation. High Marshal, the navigator said, voice cracking. We underestimated them. We invaded the wrong planet, another officer whispered. Vral'keth's head snapped toward him. What did you say? The officer hesitated. Our star maps, the coordinates we received, they were off by 2 degrees. This world shouldn't be here. It isn't on our invasion route. The bridge froze. Vral'keth's expression hardened. We do not reveal this mistake to anyone outside this room. Understood? The crew nodded silently. If the High Council learns we targeted the wrong world, they will strip me of command and my honor. The tactical officer swallowed. Then what do? We press the attack, Vral'keth said coldly. We destroy the humans before they realize our error. But it was too late. Humanity had already begun piecing it together. Back on Earth, Elias monitored intercepted alien transmissions. The translation AI struggled with linguistic patterns, but fragments emerged. Mara replayed a distorted segment. Wrong world coordinates, error. Elias narrowed his eyes. So they didn't mean to attack us. Doesn't make it less dangerous, Mara said. No, Elias agreed. But it tells us they're not prepared for a fight with a modernized world. He glanced around the operations center, watching analysts work with sharp focus. We turned their mistake into our advantage. Meaning? We hit them harder than they expect. Hard enough to force a retreat. Mara nodded. Understood. A siren blared. Captain, new contact. Vorkin boarding pods approaching orbital outpost Gamma. Elias straightened. They want prisoners. Or intel. Either way, Elias said. They're not getting through. He linked to Outpost Gamma's commander. Lieutenant Chin, prep counter-boarding units. Lock down all critical modules. Maintain tight corridors, force them into choke points. Understood, Chen replied. We'll hold. Elias cut the channel. Mara, deploy mantle strike teams. No breaches. Right away. In orbit, metallic pods slammed into Outpost Gamma, cutting through exterior plating with red-hot claws. Vorkin soldiers poured in, towering creatures with black-scaled armor and shock lances. Human defenders met them in tight corridors, using disciplined fire and controlled retreat tactics. Every step cost the invaders blood. Vorkin squad leader Kartek growled at his dwindling unit. These humans resist with outrageous ferocity. His lieutenant snarled. They fight like a cornered predator. They fight for home, Kartek replied. The corridor erupted in gunfire. Human marines advanced with grenades and rifles, sweeping room by room until the invaders fell silent. Outpost Gamma held. Elias received the report with grim satisfaction. Good work. Keep the pressure. But Mara's next message tightened his expression. Captain, their flagship is charging something new. Energy signature doesn't match previous weapons. Elias studied the readings, brows furrowing. This isn't a barrage. It's a precursor pulse. For what? Something bigger. The Vorkin fleet repositioned again, tighter, more desperate. This battle was escalating far faster than either side expected. Elias turned away from the console. Mara, ready Phase 2 contingency. And patch me through to Global Command. What do we tell them? The truth, Elias said. We're only at the beginning. He looked at the display of alien ships closing in. And this species doesn't break. The transport shuttle tore through the ion blue atmosphere of Ravax 9, its hull trembling as it cleared the storm wall. Arden braced a hand against the bulkhead and looked through the narrow viewport. Lightning writhed across the horizon like luminous serpents, each flash scattering shadows over the fractured plains below. Beautiful, isn't it? Captain Nira said, strapping herself into the pilot's chair as the turbulence eased. Beautiful in the way a charging bull is beautiful, Arden replied. You admire it right before it runs you through. Nira smirked. You humans really do turn danger into poetry. Arden didn't answer. His mind wasn't on storms. It was on the message he'd received that morning, only 8 encoded words from an anonymous sender. They found the vault. Do not trust command. He replayed them over and over. The vault. He had hoped it was only a myth whispered by surviving human fugitives. A relic from Earth's last war, built in secret, sealed away when the sky fell. If the Vral'keth Council knew anything about it, and if someone within Earth Command wanted him quiet, it meant his situation was far worse than exile. The shuttle descended through the thinning clouds. Ahead lay Outpost Loom, perched along the edge of a canyon as vast as a continental shelf. The outpost was a glowing ring of silver towers and suspended energy bridges, its power lines trailing deep into the abyss like luminous roots. We're here, Nira said. And your welcoming committee looks unhappy. A squad of armored Vral'keth sentinels waited on the landing deck, their armor glowing with thin crimson lines, alert mode. Nothing about this felt like a routine visit. The ramp lowered with a hiss. Arden stepped out, boots striking the metal. The lead sentinel, Vekrish, approached. His voice was gravel-wrapped in iron. Commander Arden. By order of the High Council, you are to accompany us for immediate debrief. Arden forced his expression to stay neutral. On what grounds? Undisclosed. Of course. Nira stepped beside Arden. He's under my escort. Any charges? This is not a charge, Vekrish interrupted. This is a containment. Arden's muscles tightened. Containment in Vral'keth law usually meant one thing: someone feared what you knew. He glanced at Nira. Her jaw tightened in a silent warning. Stay calm. But everything inside him thrummed with the urge to reach for his sidearm, not out of aggression, but instinct. Earth-born soldiers were engineered to react before thinking. And every instinct told him something was wrong. You will surrender all weapons, Vekrish said. Not happening, Arden replied. The sentinels shifted, hands hovering over their pulse spears. Nira cut in gently, voice low and diplomatic. Let's not escalate. Arden, give them the sidearm. I'll make sure you get it back. He hesitated only a moment before handing it over. The sentinels led them through the outpost's inner corridors, transparent hallways overlooking the thunderlit canyon. The deeper they walked, the more Arden felt the air thicken with ion haze and tension. Finally they reached a secure room, circular, metallic, lined with deep blue hollow panels. The door closed behind them. Counselor Valen stood inside waiting. Tall, silver-skinned, his eyes gleamed with something Arden recognized instantly, not anger, fear. Commander Arden, Valen said. We have a problem. Do you mean the squad that marched me in here at Spear Point? Arden asked. No, Valen replied. Something far worse. The counselor touched a hollow display. Blue light unfurled, shaping into a rotating projection, a spherical construct, half buried beneath rock and metallic debris. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. Arden's heartbeat stumbled. He knew that object. Every soldier from Earth's last war knew it. It was the thing their enemies feared most. A Sentinel Corps, an autonomous war intelligence seed capable of building entire armies from raw matter. It activated 3 days ago, Valen said. Your species created these weapons. We require your expertise. Arden stared harder. The core in the projection wasn't old. It wasn't dormant. It was evolving. Nira leaned closer. Is this what you were running from? I wasn't running, Arden muttered. Earth Command sealed these cores before the collapse. They swore none survived. Well, Valen said, one did. And you found it on Ravax 9? Arden asked. Valen hesitated. Something unsaid lingered behind his eyes. No, he finally said. It found us. Arden's breath froze. What do you mean? The counselor expanded the projection. The image shifted to show a series of tunnels bored through solid metallic stone. Perfectly circular. Smooth with molecular precision. It tunneled across 60 kilometers in 2 hours, Valen said. It is moving toward the canyon's power conduits. If it reaches them, we cannot predict the consequences. Arden felt the old battlefield instincts flare awake. A Sentinel Corps was dangerous alone. A Sentinel Corps with a power source was apocalyptic. It's waking up, he said. It has already awakened, Valen corrected. We need someone who understands human war machines. You. Arden almost laughed. Your sentinels just tried to lock me in a cell. And now you want my help? We had to confirm your involvement, Valen replied. Humans built these things. Some of your kind still worship them. Arden stepped forward. If I wanted it reactivated, I wouldn't be here. Nira looked between them. Then we stop it. Together. The counselor nodded slowly. We've prepared a strike team. You will lead it. Arden inhaled sharply. Leading a Ravaxian strike team into the dark after an evolving war intelligence seed wasn't a mission, it was a death sentence. But he saw something in Nira's expression, a quiet confidence, a silent promise that he wouldn't be walking into the abyss alone. Fine, he said at last. But if we're doing this, I need equipment. Access to your scanning archives. And my weapon back. It will be returned, Valen said. And you shall have whatever else you require. Arden turned toward Nira. How deep are those tunnels? Too deep, she said. Dark, unstable, and flooded with ionized gas. But we'll make it through. Arden exhaled. Then let's get moving. As they exited the chamber, the walls shook, just slightly, as though something massive stirred beneath the outpost. Nira stopped mid-stride. Did you feel that? Arden nodded. It's moving again. And in the distant depths of the canyon, a low metallic hum vibrated through the metal floor, like the heartbeat of a machine older than war, older than collapse. Awakening. Hunting. Remembering. Something that once served humanity, but no longer recognized its makers. Arden tightened his fists. Chapter 3. He muttered to himself. And the real trouble finally begins. The descent bay roared with mechanical noise as the strike team assembled. Ravaxian engineers moved between crates of weapons and sealed pressure suits, their armor plates clinking softly. The air smelled of ionized metal and ozone, signs that the Corps' presence was already warping the outpost systems. Arden adjusted the clasp on his reinforced exosuit. Ravaxian tech didn't fit comfortably on a human frame, but Nira insisted he wear the upgraded model: denser plating, adaptive joints, enhanced filtration. You'll thank me once we hit the tunnels, she said, fastening his shoulder guard. I'll thank you if it doesn't snap my spine. Nira rolled her eyes. Humans complain more than they breathe. And you Ravaxians pretend you're not worried when you're terrified. Arden countered. She paused, then smirked, barely. There. Across the bay, Vekrish, the Sentinel commander who'd earlier tried to put Arden into containment, briefed the team. His crimson visor flared as he projected a hollow map of the canyon's lower layers. The Corps has tunneled another 7 kilometers, Vekrish said. Its direction suggests a search pattern. It is hunting. Arden stepped closer. For what? Vekrish's voice lowered. For someone. Nira frowned. Explain. The tunneling paths mimic skin patterns from archived Earth encounters. Sentinel Corps often track the nearest surviving human command's signature. Arden stiffened. You're saying it's tracking me? Yes, Vekrish said. It recognizes your genetic command markers. Arden swore under his breath. The Corps were designed that way, not out of loyalty, but to prevent enemy infiltration. They locked onto high-ranking Earth commanders, read their biometrics, and treated them as either allies or threats. Most commanders could control them. Arden was not one of those commanders. So the thing wants me alive? Arden asked. Not necessarily, Vekrish said. It wants you present. Alive or dead is secondary. Nira shot Arden a look. We're sealing your biometrics before we move. No signature. No trail. That'll slow it down. Arden said. But not stop it. Vekrish nodded. Then we move fast. The team boarded a 6-legged descent crawler, a metal beast built to cling to canyon walls. As it lurched over the edge, the world dropped away beneath them. Lightning cracked below, illuminating the canyon's depthless storm. Inside, lights dimmed to red. The crawler's legs clanged rhythmically, carrying them down the vertical cliff through blistering winds. Arden watched the display screens flicker. Your instruments are glitching. Nira checked her panel. Not glitching. Something is interfering with the magnetic field. Something, Arden repeated. Or someone. Below them, the canyon floor came into view, a jagged wasteland of metallic shards and tunnels carved into spirals. The crawler touched down with a thundering impact. Team, deploy, Vekrish ordered. They moved out into the darkness, guided by the faint glow of their suits. Arden's boots sank slightly into dust that wasn't dirt but powdered alloy, evidence of the core's molecular tunneling. This wasn't carved, Arden said. It was consumed. Nira ran a scanner. Matter conversion signatures. It's repurposing everything it touches. Vekrish raised a clenched fist, signaled to halt. The ground trembled. A distant metallic chime echoed through the tunnels like a bell being struck underwater. Then a whispering drone filled the air, steady and rhythmic, as though a machine breathed just out of sight. Contact, Vekrish murmured. The team formed a perimeter. Light cut through the dark, revealing the tunnel walls. They pulsed. Not visually, not with light, but with a faint ripple, a vibration felt more than seen. Arden touched the wall. The metal was warm. Nira whispered, It's alive! No, Arden said. It's aware. The floor shook violently. Dust rained down. A new tunnel erupted open ahead of them in a shower of molten sparks. Something moved inside, fast, graceful, precise. A sentinel drone crawled out, unfolding from a sphere into a sleek, mantis-like shape. Its limbs retracted and extended with fluid metallic clicks. Its head turned toward the team, a single blue slit widening like an awakening eye. That's impossible, Arden breathed. Cores don't build drones this fast. The drone lunged. Arden dove aside as its blade limbs slashed the air where he'd been standing a heartbeat earlier. Vekrish fired a burst of energy bolts, each shot ricocheting off the drone's hardened shell. It's adaptive, Arden shouted. You can't hit it twice with the same frequency. Nira shifted her weapon settings and fired a modulated pulse. The drone staggered briefly, then recalibrated with a sharp metallic chirp. It charged again. This time Arden met it head-on, driving his exosuit's gauntlet into the drone's neck joint. Sparks exploded. The drone twisted with terrifying speed, locking its forearm around Arden's throat. Nira sprinted in from the side, leaping onto the drone's back. With a fierce cry she jammed a pulse blade into the drone's spinal node. The machine convulsed, limbs contorting, then collapsed into a molten heap. Arden gasped for air. Nice timing. Nira brushed metal shards off her armor. Don't make me save you again. Vekrish crouched by the remains. This is only a scout. The Corps sent it to locate you. Arden stared into the dark tunnel the drone had emerged from. A low rumble traveled through the ground, steady, pulsing, like an approaching heartbeat. It knows exactly where we are, he said quietly. And it's coming, Nira added. Vekrish rose to his full height. Then prepare yourselves. We move deeper. We end this before it reaches the power conduits. Arden tightened his gauntlets, pulse racing. The rumble intensified, echoing through the tunnels, vibrating in his bones. This was no longer a hunt. It was a summons. For him. And deep in the darkness of the canyon, the Sentinel Corps answered with a sound like grinding metal and awakening thought. Welcome, Commander. Arden froze. Nira grabbed his arm. What did you hear? He swallowed hard. Something I shouldn't have. Then the tunnel ahead split open with a deafening roar. And the Corps revealed its first true form.